What's up YouTube? Brandon here with Beard Guy EDC coming back at you guys again with another video today. Today's video is going to be a little different. I thought we'd just run around some of the points of knife safety. It's featured in every one of my videos in the disclaimer, but I just thought I should probably actually do a real video just discussing knife safety and just general knife etiquette. And yeah, I just thought I'd share that with you guys. Something we haven't done on the channel before, even though it's kind of bare bones, basic. Beating a dead horse for a lot of you guys. A lot of you guys are really familiar with knife safety, but just for some people that may be tuning into the channel that are new to the hobby, haven't been collecting knives very long or using knives very long, just some general knife safety just to keep you guys safe and uninjured. So I hope you guys enjoy this video as well as all the videos I've done before. If you like this content, make sure you check out more of my EDC content in the playlists in the description below. You can also hit the subscribe and notification button to make sure you get notified when I have new content coming out. As always, enjoy the video, you guys, and take her easy. Alright, YouTube. So, for today's video, like I said, it's going to be a little different. Instead of reviewing a knife, or unboxing a knife, or talking about some of the qualities of a knife, or other EDC gear, we're actually going to be running down through a bit of knife safety and knife etiquette today. I know I have a disclaimer on all my videos about knife safety, but I just figured I haven't done an actual video speaking on the topic, so for today, we're just going to run down through some general knife safety and knife etiquette. I know for a lot of you guys this is going to be beating a dead horse. It's going to be common sense, but for some people that maybe are new to the hobby, new to collecting knives and new to using knives, I'm just going to run down through some safety. So let's start this video. First and foremost, when you're using any edged cutlery, such as a knife or an axe, anything that has a sharp edge, you have to respect the edge. You have to understand that you're working with a razor sharp tool. This ZT, for example, S30V, comes to a very nice edge. Razor sharp, definitely hair cutting. It would easily shave hair off your arm. So you just have to understand the kind of tool that you're working with and respect the fact that if you make a mistake, you very well could end up injuring yourself with that edge. So understanding knife safety comes down to a few different things. Like number one, as I said, respect the edge. That comes down to as well making sure when you're cutting something, you're always cutting with the edge away from you so you don't stick the edge into yourself. I know I've made the mistake a couple times throughout my life, maybe when I was a little bit inexperienced with knives. I know one time with a Spyderco, I believe it was a Tenacious, I was cutting a zip tie and I stuck it right into my finger. It was a messy scene, there was a lot of blood. I learned from then that when you're cutting a zip tie, use the proper cutters if you can, but if you only have a knife available, cut so the edge goes away from you, not into you, because that was a bad mistake, and I learned from it, and hopefully you guys can learn from that story. And like I said, just understand that when you're working with a sharp edge, it is just that. It can be dangerous, and it can hurt you if you're not careful, so just use common sense, keep the edge away from you, cut always in the opposite direction of yourself. You don't want to go in towards your body to cause any harm to your flesh. So just, like I said, cut away, understand you're using a sharp tool, and that it can injure you, and always respect the tool. As far as etiquette goes, if I'm in a grocery store, I have no problem pulling out something like the Benchmade mini bug out if I need to just cut something real quick. It's not a intimidating knife by any means. It's a nice small little folder. And yeah, it's just something I wouldn't feel would make people uncomfortable in a public setting if I needed to cut something. I'm not going to whip out something like the Civivi Bull Mastiff here just to cut a tie off of a nude article of clothing or something. So this guy comes in almost at 4 inches, 3.8 something inches for the blade, almost 2 inches wide, so it's a big chunk of metal, and it's just an intimidating looking knife with that fuller and stuff, and just how large it is overall. So this is a knife that I wouldn't want to pull out in public or hand to somebody if they asked me for a pocket knife, just because it is a bit intimidating. It's going to leave them maybe with a sour taste in their mouth if they're not accustomed to handling knives. Another thing I wouldn't want to hand to somebody if they're not accustomed to knives is a button lock. I know for some of it's easy. You can open it two-handed, but some people just don't understand how the button works and they try to flick it and nothing happens. You hold the button, flick it open. It can be dangerous. Same thing with closing. So I just try not to hand people button locks if I don't have to. Another knife that I wouldn't necessarily hand to someone who hasn't handled before is a front flipper. I know for a lot of us it's easy and it seems like a pretty natural action, but for someone who's not used to a knife and maybe used to a thumb stud or a thumb nick opener or a flipper, this is going to be a little bit out of their realm, and they're going to try and use their fingertip and they might drop your knife, and if it's expensive, you don't want that. So front flippers is not something I usually hand to somebody who's not comfortable with edge cutlery, but it is nice to carry and nice to use yourself. If I'm handing someone a knife, this one is a bit pricey and a bit nice, but if I was to hand someone a knife, a frame lock is definitely something that I would feel comfortable handing someone, because most people are familiar with a frame lock, most people are familiar with a flipper. It's not something that's going to intimidate anyone. This one is a liner lock frame lock, and it is a flipper, but this has a pretty speedy assisted action. So this knife is an assisted opener. It has a torsion spring inside. It is speed safe, but it does open pretty quick, and it is a pretty heavy blade. So if you're not used to it, it is possible that this knife might fly out of your hands if you weren't expecting the spring action. So again, it's just a knife that I probably wouldn't hand to someone who's not familiar with knives. Just because of that assisted action, it can be a little frightening for some people if they're not used to it or if they don't expect it. A great knife to hand to someone is the Wee Banter. Super familiar action, easy to use, a liner lock locking mechanism, so easy to close. Really simple design, not intimidating at all. Just a beautiful little utilitarian EDC folder, and most people aren't going to be intimidated or have any problem with the Wee Banter. In the same category as the Banter, we have the Honey Badger. It's a cheaper version, basically. It's on ball bearings. It's the cheaper steel, FRN handles instead of G10. So it's just a lot cheaper, but it is a nice action and a sharp edge. So it's a knife that I wouldn't mind handing to someone because it's a liner lock. It's got the flipper. You can easily, slowly thumb it open with the thumb hole. So just a great knife overall. Not intimidating, lightweight, just a typical EDC folder. So that's just some knife etiquette. Just maybe you don't want to take out a big pocket knife in a grocery store. Some people do, that's their thing, but I find it can be offensive to some people, so I'd be more inclined to use something like the mini bug out for that. Another thing with knife safety is you want to make sure that when you're using a knife that you're using it correctly for the job intended. You don't want to use a knife to cut a zip tie if you don't have to. If you have some pliers where you can cut it, some proper cutters, obviously use that. Sometimes you're in a situation in the field where you don't have tools available and you have to use what you have, and in some cases that's a knife, but you always want to do it in the most safe way possible and make sure you don't run the risk of cutting yourself, because nobody wants to end up going to the ER to get stitches or have to super glue a wound together, which is what I did last time. I don't recommend that, but it worked for me. I didn't want to go to the hospital at the time. I was in the middle of a job. I stuck the knife in myself, so I just super glued it together and went on to work like nothing happened. I don't recommend that, but it worked for me. Obviously, the better thing to do would have been cut away from myself, so I didn't injure that finger, but live and learn. So my lesson for you guys is to always cut away from yourself, always respect that you're using an edge tool, and just have a bit of common sense and etiquette when you're around people who aren't familiar with knives or don't regularly carry knives, because they just might be a bit more skittish when it comes to something with an assisted action or an auto. I live in Canada, so autos are illegal here. I can't carry an auto, so I can't show you guys on the channel, but yeah, there's just a few knives, like gravity knives and things like that. Balisongs, obviously balisongs are illegal in Canada as well, but you're not going to hand someone who's never carried a pocket knife a balisong to open up and use to cut mail open. They're going to hurt themselves, almost guaranteed. You'd be better off handing them something like the mini bug out. Even though some people are a little bit intimidated by the axis lock, it is pretty obvious and easy to understand. And if you use two hands, the chances of you injuring yourself is very low. So as long as you're using it with two hands instead of trying to be cool and flick it open and close it like that, and you're not familiar with it, you won't injure yourself if you just slowly open it and two-hand it closed. So it's a nice little knife to hand to someone. It's a safe knife. I could feature a whole plethora of other kind of knives in this video. I just wanted to take out a couple from the collection just to feature on here to talk about. Like I said, some bigger knives you might not want to use in public just because it draws attention, maybe unwanted attention. And yeah, all in all, that was a quick little video for you guys. Just wanted to talk about some knife safety because I've never done it on the channel, besides in my disclaimers on every video. And we'll jump into a pocket dump for you guys. So for my light today, I'm carrying my Lumen Top EDC AA. Nice little light. A couple different modes on it. And I've got my Steel Will Mini Cut Jack in D2 with FRN handles. A beautiful little knife. Snappy little action, not super smooth or anything. Honestly, it doesn't get the pocket time that it deserves. I don't carry this knife a whole lot, but maybe I'll start carrying it a bit more for you guys to feature it on the channel a bit more and let you know what I think of the actual blade steel. I've sharpened this guy a couple times. Tends to hold an edge pretty well. The steel isn't corroding or anything for D2. I live in a pretty salty environment, so it's holding up pretty well. Love my little steel wheel mini cut jack. Great knife. And that's all for my carry today. I'm carrying pretty light. Hope you guys found this video informative. I know it's common sense for a lot of you guys, but just for some of the newbies out there, maybe if you're just getting into the hobby, just some general knife safety just to talk about for you guys today. Keep your eyes peeled for some more content coming. There's always more. And as always, have a great day and take her easy.